We need to talk about this wild, growing conservative infighting that's been happening because it's exposing a lot, and it has a new target, Andrew Tate.
He's an online troll, and he revels in precisely the evils conservatives hate.
Now, obviously, Andrew Tate's been making headlines for years now, and his whole alpha male, anti-woke persona has led to him being lumped into and often embraced in right-wing circles. And recently he appeared on Benny Johnson's show alongside one of Trump's lawyers where we saw this interaction.
Hi, nice to meet you. I'm a big fan.
Well, nice to meet you. I'm a fan. You're the one saving Trump.
Also, lately, we've seen things like Elon Musk sharing Tate's posts and responding positively to posts about him. And that also notably coming after Tate has suggested he has political ambitions, running a poll asking, should I enter politics and run for Prime Minister of the UK? And even though that's not quite how electing a PM works over there, the option, yes, save Britain, spelled incorrectly, did win. And while with that, that post wasn't taken too seriously by non-supporters, that it wasn't covered by tons of mainstream outlets, just today you did have The Guardian publishing an opinion piece saying that while his efforts look like a publicity stunt, it's important not to write off Tate's political ambitions as meaningless attention seeking, adding it's highly unlikely Tate will ever be prime minister, sure, but trolls like him already have an oversized role in politics and their influence seems only to be growing. Which then brings us to people in conservative media who are taking Tate's influence seriously and they're now pushing back against the right's decision to embrace him. With, for example, Ben Shapiro yesterday posting a video titled "The Right Should Dump Andrew Tate," with Shapiro there listing out the trafficking and assault allegations that have been made against Tate and arguing against the conservative platforming that he's received thus far. With him saying that he has no problem with conservative hosts interviewing Andrew Tate, saying there's nothing wrong with that in theory, but in practice, no one is asking him the right questions.
He rips off thousands of people with his Scam Hustlers University. He preaches the virtue of treating women in a way you would never, ever allow anyone to treat your wife or your daughter. No one is saying you can't have Andrew Tate on your show. It's a free country. You should do what you want. What I'm saying is that if you say you're conservative, and then you have someone who truly is disgusting on, and you proceed to tout them, praise them, nod along to everything they say, cheer them, you're doing more than platforming.
Or you have Shapiro saying there's a line between having a conversation with someone and becoming a means to spread their propaganda. With him then further arguing that Tate's persona, it doesn't even actually fall in line with conservative ideas, saying that even though Tate is seen as a champion of masculinity
has good iterations, and it also has really, really ugly iterations. And the iteration that Andrew Tate pushes is not a responsible masculinity.
With him then adding that just because someone is anti-left, that doesn't make them a sustainable conservative figurehead. And this, as Shapiro noted himself, that he is not the only conservative to call Tate out. And actually, if you go to his comments, you have a lot of people supporting Shapiro's takedown of Tate. But that also doesn't mean that support for him is going anywhere. And we actually saw that today in response to news that a Romanian court had lifted the house arrest Tate has been under since August, which means that he can now leave his house, though he's been placed under judicial control, which means he still cannot leave Romania. He has to check in regularly with police and cannot contact suspects or witnesses tied to an investigation into him. And so with that, while obviously Tate was celebrating the news, he was not alone, right? His supporters were very happy and they were abundant. But that said, this specific Andrew Tate, Ben Shapiro situation, it's not this outlier. In fact, it brings us to more news regarding general conservative infighting. Most of these, they deal less with the influencer space and more with the directly political space. With, for example, just a week until the inauguration, things in Trump world get intense, where you had VP-elect JD Vance causing a bit of a stir over the weekend for comments that he made to Fox News about which people that are serving time for January 6th should receive or should not receive pardons from Trump.
Look, if you protested peacefully on January the 6th and you've had Merrick Garland's Department of Justice treat you like a gang member, you should be pardoned. If you committed violence on that day, obviously you shouldn't be pardoned. And there's a little bit of a gray area there, but we're very much committed to seeing the equal administration of law. And there are a lot of people, we think, in the wake of January the 6th who were prosecuted unfairly. We need to rectify that.
And those remarks from Vance are super significant because they go much further than anything Trump has said when questioned about pardons for violent offenders, where Trump has kind of long evaded giving a direct answer about who among the 1,500 who have been charged in connection with the insurrection will receive the pardons that he has long promised as one of his first acts in office. Though, in the past, he has said that there might be exceptions if, quote, somebody was radical, crazy. But then, just last week, when asked whether he was planning to pardon J6ers charged with violent offenses, Trump responded, "We'll be looking at the whole thing, but I'll be making major pardons, yes." And so Vance's latest remarks, they've spurred a good deal of backlash online from Trump supporters, with a seeing, among other things, an ex-account claiming to represent Jake Lang, who is awaiting trial on charges of beating police officers at the Capitol, making a lengthy post and sharing a video message condemning Vance's remarks. With that account writing, the J6 hostages' families have been crushed by the mixed messaging coming from the White House on the J6 pardon process, just recently, and saying we are utterly confused, with him then going on to falsely claim that all rioters charged were protesting peacefully but were set up and entrapped by the FBI and had unfair trials and a corrupt justice system. With him adding, how can J6ers be condemned/left behind and some be deemed worthy of leaving this hellhole torture when all have been railroaded in a two-tiered persecution, with him then concluding by calling for everyone charged in the insurrection to be pardoned. With it also being echoed by another user who claimed to be a January 6th survivor who posted, telling your own supporters that the election was stolen and then not giving them a pardon or commutation after you sent them into what you call a Fedsurrection and trap is a betrayal. All of the J6 defendants must be saved. JD Vance is wrong, and I hope Trump will save his own supporters. With it then seeming like the backlash got so bad that Vance himself actually responded to a post by the Hodge twins saying that he donated to the January 6th political prisoner fund and has been defending these guys for years, with him then claiming that there were federal informants in the crowd who shouldn't get a pardon and arguing that he wasn't walking back Trump's claims. And adding, I assure you, we care about people unjustly locked up. Yes, that includes people provoked and it includes people who got a garbage trial. But then also, that wasn't the only recent battle in Trump world, because there's also now a lot of coverage around recent remarks made by Steve Bannon, who of course was one of the architects of Trump's 2016 campaign, who served as a close advisor. And man, we saw Bannon absolutely tearing into Elon Musk in a recent interview with an Italian newspaper and vowing to oust him from Trump's orbit, saying he is a truly evil guy, a very bad guy. I made it my personal thing to take this guy down. With him then adding, I will have Elon Musk run out of here by Inauguration Day. Also, among the other things he said, Bannon went as far as to say that Musk should go back to South Africa where he was born, and continuing, why do we have South Africans, the most racist people on earth, white South Africans, we have them making any comments at all on what goes on in the United States? Right? And notably here, these comments come after Bannon and Musk also recently had another high-profile battle over a visa program that allows foreigners with technical skills to work in the US for up to 6 years. With Bannon, along with many other anti-immigration Trump supporters, condemning Musk, Vivek Ramaswamy, and other so-called tech bros for supporting those visas, arguing that they take jobs away from US workers. With then Musk and Ramaswamy essentially hitting back by arguing that there are not enough good American workers for those jobs. Right? And also with this, I want to say it has been very notable the differences in the ways that media outlets have been reporting on Bannon's latest remarks. Because, on one end of the spectrum, you have more left-leaning outlets kind of painting this as a significant moment of infighting among key Trump allies that represent a broader rift between two different factions of Trump supporters, with outlets like the Washington Post writing, while previous battles were mostly between the old Republican establishment and MAGA, the new ones are largely between various sectors of the MAGA movement jostling for influence. With the New York Times also echoing that and saying that Bannon's remarks reflect broader tension on the right in the United States about the direction of the movement that Mr. Trump has championed, and fears that Mr. Musk could use his influence to sideline powerful figures within that movement to promote his own agenda. But then when you look at kind of more right-leaning outlets, they generally more painted this as a one-off situation between Musk and Bannon rather than a broader issue, with some even trying to paint Bannon as a sort of loose cannon lashing out, and the New York Post publishing a headline that read, Steve Bannon goes berserk on Elon Musk. But for now, we're gonna have to see how all this plays out on all these different fronts and kind of just more generally. Hey, thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this clip from the full Philip DeFranco show. And also, a big thanks to Squarespace for sponsoring our Clips channel. Turn your passion into profit over at squarespace.com/Phil or use the QR code. Because whether you're launching a business or a lucrative side hustle, your website is your digital business card. It's the only space where you control the story, no algorithms or distractions. And with Squarespace, it's so easy because they got a ton of stunning professional templates with drag and drop editing that makes site design incredibly simple, no coding required. So get started for free at squarespace.com/Phil or scan the QR code on screen and use code Phil for 10% off when ready to launch. Squarespace.com/Phil.